Hey, regular 4xe fans, welcome to this video. I'm going to talk a little bit about form, fuel oil refresh mode, and I'm going to dole out some advice because my many years have given me wisdom and has allowed me to do such a thing. I just hit my 50th birthday, so I guess I feel like I can do this now. So let's talk about form. If you don't understand what form is, and I'll get to my advice here in a minute. If you don't understand what form is, fuel oil refresh mode, the vehicle, you know, we have a partially electrified vehicle, but we also have a partially gas-powered vehicle. So when you have two systems, the amazing engineers have to figure out ways to make all that work, right? And one of the decisions they made is that, hey, you've got to run that engine periodically. It has to be lubricated, and if you've been around like generators, like I work at AT&T, we have generators in our buildings, and you occasionally have to run those generators as a maintenance thing. You can't just let them sit there for years and years, and same with this gas engine, it has to run periodically. So there's some sort of timer or something. If you go and do a lot of electric miles, at some point you will land in form. But it's not the bad kind of form, and I'm going to get to the bad kind here in a minute. You know, a lot of people say if you run a lot of electric miles, you'll land in form. But yes, you will land in the kind of form that wants you to burn off some gas and add at least 4 gallons to the gas tank, and then that form will clear. It's supposed to anyway. So you have the engine needs to run periodically. You need to, burn some gas. You need to make sure you have fresh gas in the tank. And that's got a 90-day timer on the gas tank. Not sure what it is on the engine. The third kind of form is the one that is problematic, and it's all software-based, and it's based off of oil dilution in your, getting fuel in your oil and diluting your oil with gas. And that happens in a combustion engine, especially a direct injection engine. You'll get a little bit of fuel burning through, and if you don't get the engine up to temperature and you don't run that engine for a while, that fuel will just sit there and get in the oil, and it'll actually add to the fluid level of your oil reservoir. If you have actual oil dilution, you can look on your dipstick, and the level will be higher than the full level. If you got those 2 marks on the dipstick, it'll be above that because you've actually added fluid to it. And if you do a YouTube search of any, if you do like oil dilution direct injection engines, that's a good search to do to learn about what this issue is. And what you will see in a lot of those videos, they will talk about short trips, and they will use that term, short trips. If you make a lot of short trips in your in a direct injection engine, you can get oil dilution. Well, the way we have to think about that in the Wrangler 4xe is short engine runs. If you leave the vehicle in hybrid mode and you're driving down the road and you get on it just a little bit heavy, your gas engine will start. And if it's the first start in a while, like a few hours, if it's the first start, the engine will peg at a certain RPM and it'll run for a while, and there's a lot to do with that, clearing the catalytic converter and just getting the engine lubed and warmed and everything, and then the engine will shut off. And if you drive a little farther and you get on the gas again, the engine will turn on and it'll run for a little bit and it'll turn off. That, I feel, is something we need to pay attention to when the weather gets cold in the Wrangler 4xe, and it's something we need to be cognizant of. And here's where my advice comes in. I have had a lot of conversations over the past year with a lot of awesome people in the 4xe community. And I've had conversations, basically the conversations drop into 2 groups. There's the group over here that gets kind of stuck in form, what I call a perpetual or repetitive form. And then there's a group over here, I'm in this group, that has never been in form. Now, I live in southern Ohio, southwest Ohio, near Dayton, Ohio. So we don't get quite the winters that y'all do up in Michigan, or the state up north, as we like to say, because we don't say the M word in church. And we definitely don't get the winters like you guys get in Canada. But we definitely get some cold months, worse than, say, anybody in Florida and Alabama. So we're kind of in that in-between place, but it does get cold for a couple months, and I'm one of those people who has never had form in mind. And the people that I've talked to, I always ask these questions, like, do you garage your Jeep? Do you leave the vehicle in a hybrid mode during the winter, or do you use the electric mode? And what I hear out of most of the people that are in the group that have had issues with form is that they have left the vehicle in hybrid mode and let the vehicle make its decisions, which I'm a huge fan of, don't get me wrong. But if your day-to-day commute is a lot of surface roads and you're not going that far, and you're not going far enough to make that engine start and just run for a while, I think that can be an issue that can contribute to the vehicle going into form. And this is not based on any mastery of engineering that I have. I'm not a mechanic. I work in telecommunications, but it's from these conversations that I've had with people over and over and over again, based on a theory that I've had, that we need to be aware. More importantly, in the winter, that's when your oil dilution in the direct injection engines becomes more of an issue, is when it's cold out. If you, what I'm getting at here, here's my advice. If your daily commute is beyond the electric range of the Wrangler 4xe, my advice is to go ahead and during the winter, go ahead and put it in electric mode and use up what you can, and then allow the vehicle to fall into hybrid mode. But I would still say pay attention to it. Pay attention how many times that engine is turning on and off. Now, I'm on the highway right now. I'm on 75 northbound, and traffic's getting a little backed up, and I'm putting my foot on my brake, and the engine's shutting off. But I know the next 10 miles here, I'm going to be running this vehicle. If I had a lot of those short engine runs and then I just turned off the vehicle and wasn't going very far, then I think I could run into some issues. So that's my advice I wanted to share. I just wanted to pass that along. If you are not the type to use the electric mode and you have a real short commute, you have short trips every day, especially during the winter, use that electric mode. And then, if you go on a trip, like if I go on a 300-mile trip, I throw it in hybrid mode. I don't use e-save because it is less efficient. And even if, there are times though, I will add this. There are times, like if I'm driving home and I'm like a few miles from the house and I see I'm not going to make it in my electric range, during the winter, I will throw it over into e-save or pull the shifter lever over and force that engine to run for a little while. Now, the downside to pulling the shifter lever over is you bypass that timer. There's a little timer that kicks on the first time your engine runs. There's a timer that runs where that engine is not loaded. There's a clutch between the gas engine and the transmission that opens, allows that engine to start, get lubricated, get warmed up a little bit before that clutch closes and the gas engine takes on the load of the vehicle. So if you just yank that shifter over and you force the engine to start, you're also forcing it to load right away, which I think in the long term could have some negative impact on the mechanics of the vehicle. So the best option is to probably throw it in e-save, let the vehicle go through its warm-up cycle before it loads the engine, and then run that engine and get it hot for a little bit before you just turn it off and put it in the garage. As an example, my mom's house is about 21 miles from my house, and I have a second charger installed in her garage. So I will plug in and I will charge and then make the whole trip in electric mode. But if I get, if I stop somewhere, if I pull over, if I do something and I know I'm not going to quite make it, it's really close, and I know I'm not going to quite make it in all electric mode, during the winter, I will throw it over in e-save just to force that engine to run, force it to warm up, and not do a short engine run for like the last half mile before I get home. So there's my advice. In the comments below, I would like to hear your thoughts. What you've dealt with, what your experience has been, how you've seen form hit. I will add, on the tail end of this, there are some Jeeps that just do some weird stuff with form, and I have a feeling it's software based and has nothing to do with how the person operated it. And that's just my thought on that. But I just wanted to hear your thoughts down below, what your experience with form has been. And I guess that's it. Thanks for watching. Take care.